Every time failure is pervading the earth, God sends human agents as instruments of change to success. During times of tension, God releases these agents on the earth for the preservation of the saints. Joseph was sent to Egypt to preserve God's people. Elijah was sent to the woman of Zarephath to preserve her. Elisha was sent to a prophet's widow in 2 Kings 4 to rescue her from shame and humiliation. We read a very telling tale in the book of Ezekiel, chapters 22, verses 30 to 31, which states, "And I sought of them a man who puts up a wall and stands in the breach before me for the sake of the land, that it is not destroyed. But I did not find." The text says, God looked for someone who will stand in the gap on behalf of the people, so he will not destroy the land. He will not destroy the people. But he found none. What happened when no one was found? What happened when an intercessor wasn't found? What happened when someone was not found who would stand in the gap? Verses 30, "And I poured out my fury upon them. With the fire of my wrath I destroyed them. I put their way on their head, said the Lord God." When we lack those who will bridge the gap, stand in the gap for the people, for the land, we are met with misfortune. The book of Job also presents us with another example of the lack of a messenger or an intercessor. Job 33, verses 19 to 25. "And he is chastised with pain on his bed, and most of his bones, since he is strong. And his living spirit causes him to abhor food, and his soul choice muscles. His flesh is consumed from sight, and his bones are dislocated to unsightliness, and his soul approaches the pit, and his life to the destroyers." These verses paint a gruesome picture of someone who is almost in the grave, a picture of pain, anguish, and a situation that is hopeless. But then we get an insight from the next few verses. It reads, "If there is an angel over him," that is, if there is a messenger over him, an intercessor, one out of 1,000, to declare for a man his uprightness. If only there is one person who will stand in the gap for this person, who is experiencing such pain, such anguish, a situation that is hopeless. If there is an angel over him, a messenger, an intercessor, one out of 1,000 to declare for a man his uprightness, then he is gracious to him, and he says, "Redeem him from descending into the pit. I have found a ransom." His flesh is more tender than his childhood. This is what will happen when an intercessor stands in the gap for this fellow whose story is nothing to write home about. His flesh is more tender than in childhood. He will be restored to the days of his youth. God is always in search of a man to use to bridge the gap between himself and others. He worked with Elijah, with Moshe, with Elisha, with Joseph, and if we make ourselves available, he's going to use us also. This Friday, July 20th, 2018, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., I'll be climbing up to intercede for God's people with some powerful men of God here in Ghana. This one-day intense prayer and fasting is dubbed Encounter at Shiloh. Just as Hannah had an encounter at Shiloh, and the great man Samuel was born, a man that changed the course of Hebrew history, As we also go up to this mountain, to our own Shiloh, may all your petitions that you send our way receive answers. May these answers change the course of your destinies forever. Send your prayer request at the link provided below.